The stock is low in the marketplace and buyers are looking for different options. Suddenly, off the plan is becoming super attractive because you've got a selection of stock. This morning, we've brought on builder Michael Vance to have a chat with you. Stay tuned. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we today?
Yeah, morning, James. Good, thank you.
Good, Michael. We've got building royalty in the car. I was going to say in the suite.
In the house.
So, buying off the plan. Would a builder buy off the plan? Michael, from your experience, have you ever bought off the plan? Question number one.
I have, twice.
You have twice. And is it something that has served you well?
It's been a very good investment for my family, yes.
Yeah. So with the low levels of stock at the moment, Mark, and some quite attractive prices that you can get off the plan, it's quite an exciting little idea, but of course there's always that delay. So what are the things that people are thinking about when they are purchasing off the plan in regards to timelines and money? And give me a little bit more of a lowdown, Mark.
Is that Michael or Mark?
Mark this time.
Look, I think that at the moment it's just I've never witnessed in 20, 30 years of real estate, it's so hard to buy a property with stock so low. And then you've got, so in a suburb like Dee Why where there's 10,000 units, you got 60 for sale at one time. It used to sit at, 150, 200 for sale at one time. So it's less than a third. And those ones are selling real quick. So for a developer to come along in the suburb with 100 units, it's pretty attractive for a purchaser because then it takes all that stress out. They don't have to settle for 1 or 2 years. It's pretty exciting.
It's a bit difficult. It only sort of fits into certain demographics from what I can see on the outside. It's not exactly something that you're going to be looking at as a first-home buyer, which is what we've got a ton of people in the market, first-home buyers trying to get into the property market. What sort of perspective are they going to be taking on that at the moment? Would you take a risk on that and just continue renting for the next 2 years until that property becomes available?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There is risk there, and now Michael. It's great to have Michael as a guest on this morning because he's the guy that is there instructing all of the builders and trades on site what to do, how to do, when to do. Michael's built blocks of 130 units very quickly, blocks of 50 units very quickly, and I think what you'll find is the big question that we always get asked, Michael, is the integrity of these buildings and is it safe to buy these buildings? Because where people felt pretty safe a couple of years ago, now people are absolutely terrified with what happened in
Mascot Towers and up in
Opal Towers. Do you know what I mean? So people are like really freaking out. What's your response to that when someone's like, say, you asked you would buy with your money off the plan? Being a builder, building this stuff?
100%. And like I said to you, I've done it twice before and I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. I suppose the thing that people need to be mindful of is looking at what the developer and builder have done before. So not just looking at what the developer's done, but what the builder that's building the building has done as well. And the best thing you can do is probably go out and look at their past projects. And I'm not just talking about the one they completed 12 months ago or 2 years ago. Go and have a look at the one that's 5 years ago. And even from the outside, you'll get a good impression of how that building is holding up. And the quality of the build will really shine through if you see what they've done in the last 5 years.
So you can physically see from the outside of the building if it's a shit building.
You can see a building that's been, after 5 years, you'll see how it's aged over that period of time. And if it's aged well, then chances are they've done a very good job. But if you can see that things are starting to look a bit tired and a little bit worn out, then you might question the quality of that particular build. And that's probably a good reflection of what you're going to be buying into down the track.
So you're still getting the buildings 5 years later. Do you talk to the neighbours, cafes. I think you were saying before. Like, what do you do?
100%. So it's not that hard you don't have to go knocking on people's doors and invading their privacy, but you just need, most of these apartment buildings these days have some kind of retail precinct underneath them or even near them. Just go to the coffee shop and just have a chat to the locals down there while you're waiting for your coffee. So, strike up a conversation and ask them what they think about the building and the development, and everybody has an opinion, and you're certainly going to get a pretty good perception of what the building's like.
Even ask a real estate agent that's not selling in that building.
Yep, especially. But
they'll happily tell you.
But even the real estate agent that's renting out the apartments in the old building, because they're dealing with the owner, but also any potential defects that might be in the building as well, and they'll have a good understanding of. Well, every builder, I think, is going to have some form of defects. The difference is whether that builder is going to be attending to them and being available to come back and fix those or address any issue that comes up. And that's what you want to see from the builder.
Okay. So that's interesting. So you would still buy off the plan, and there's money to be made, watch stuff for 5 years. What else? We don't know, James.
Is there like a honeymoon period, essentially, where the building's still under warranty? Do a lot of people that buy in sell before the warranty expires? What's the sort of situation there with just people's perception of the longevity of the buildings? People think the old red bricks are going to live 100 years, but they look at new developments and they think, they're not going to last. What's the score with that?
Well, you're finding now that buildings still need to maintain a certain standard for health and safety, and you're finding that those old red brick places which you're referring to, they've got some significant costs with upgrading their fire services, for example, and that's an expense that a lot of owners may not foresee. They just see a building that's been there for 20, 30, 40 years and think, it's stood the test of time, it's going to be fine. But the reality is things like smoke detection systems, fire systems and the like aren't up to speed, and sooner or later the government's going to impose laws and demand that they get them up to speed. And you're starting to see it now around people getting hydrant systems retrofitted to the front of their building blocks to bring them up to code, and that's a cost that you may not see with an older building, and the maintenance costs as well. If you've got a brand new build, you do have that builder's warranty period, but ultimately when that building's getting built, it's getting built to the current code and the current standards, which you can rely upon.
And builders are coming back, Michael. So it seems like there used to be a problem 10 years ago to get the builder back. Sorry, we've gone bankrupt, but builders are coming back now.
100%. And a lot of builders, they recognise these days, as sad as it is to say, back in the day, they weren't so as competent with these things, but they realise that they've got to be there to have the after construction services there and be able to service the owners of these apartment blocks, because that's their reputation for the next one. And that's the whole, that's what you need to market when you're doing pre-sales and off the plan sales on the buildings.
So these warranties, how long are they now? Because they're different warranties for different buildings.
Yeah, so you've got a non-structural defect liability period, which is a stat defect period, which is only 12 months, and then you've got 6 years for structural. And the difference between the two is more of the cosmetic things like small cracks and things like that for the 12-month period. So they're just shrinkage cracks on a building over a period of time after people start to use it. But then you've got 6 years, which is more your structural element. So you're looking at, dare I say it, over towers. That's a really extreme measure. But waterproofing and all those sorts of things. That's a 6-year warranty on those sorts of things. And you'd like to think that after a 6-year period, if it hasn't leaked, it shouldn't leak, unless somebody has damaged something. The other thing to note is that developers these days there's a new legislation that come in that developers need to put down a 2% bond that goes into a trust.
That's new,
and that's only just come in the last 2 years. So any new development moving forward now, developers need to put in a 2% bond, which is put in place, and there's a certain
2% of the building cost or the value of the property? 2%
of the construction cost.
Yep.
And then that sits in trust, and that sits there for the period of the defect liability period. And there's also, you've got to have independent inspections done and actioned prior to the expiry of that 12-month and 6-year period to get that released. So if the builder doesn't come back and fix it after you have the independent inspections done, then you can start using that 2% to cover the cost. So that's funds that are sitting there in trust for the event that the builder doesn't do the right thing. So it's an added bit of security for these purchasers that are buying off the plan.
So the builder can use that after 2 years. They can start using that money
if the builder doesn't attend to their defects and deal with legitimate defects.
So it's literally like a tenancy bond in a way. Like it's a bond,
Very
bond,
similar.
It's for a builder.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. That's more legislation for I sort of feel I feel really good for the people having that, but I also feel equally it's just another hurdle for a builder to build.
It's keeping them accountable.
Yeah, and they've almost got to pass on the cost because it makes it uneconomical to start doing some developments. And yeah, it's interesting, but it's protecting.
You're buying
insurance. You're buying insurance effectively.
Exactly.
When you're a purchaser, you're paying probably going to pay a touch more now, but you've got a little insurance policy there that you're even more bulletproof.
I mean, the other thing to ask is before you enter into the contract is about what are the processes that the builders have in place prior to settlement to allow you to inspect your property prior to settlement, and how does that tie into your sales contract as well? You'd like to think that you'd have the opportunity to inspect the building prior to settlement, and then you can and it gives the builder the opportunity to fix those prior to settlement and agree on that list to be fixed prior to settlement. So when you move in, you're not then finding any minor defects that need to be fixed and interrupting your settlement period. You want to know that those things are fixed and finished before you settle on the property and move in.
What do you think about that, Mr. Lamplow?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good to listen to from Mr. Vance's mouth himself. Tony has mentioned this morning some pros and cons, perhaps, and he wants you guys to go in a little bit more depth next time, Mark and Michael. Off the top of your head, Michael, what would be some major pros of buying off the plan?
Major pros is that you're securing a property at a price point now that we've all seen has increased dramatically, even over the last 6 months. If you bought a property now off the plan, it takes 12 months to build. You're building that equity without outlaying the full cost for that property. So you just put your deposit down, and that cost is growing. The other plus is you're getting a brand new building that's built to the current codes. You're not buying an old building that's built to old codes. And the other point of it is that you get these warranties with everything that you get brand new. You buy an old property and the hot water heater bursts, then you're up for that cost. They need to upgrade, same with your oven and all your appliances. They all come with warranty straight away. And, from a financial point of view, there's great tax deductions there for a brand new property that you're not going to get with an old one. Depreciation, you're going to be claiming that back if it's an investment, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Mark, do you have any other questions for Michael at all?
That's a wrap. Look, it's great. It's out there, guys. Don't be scared. Builder himself is buying off the plan, but he's mentioned some things to watch out for. You must watch out for. They are very, very good things that are brought up. There is insurances there. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good morning and have a nice day.
You too.
Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.